true, but I feel good.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great to be on here tonight. And wow, what a special call. You know, I had the pleasure of sitting in this call from the very beginning, getting a chance to get to hear some of your stories, the testimonials. First of which, I just want to tell you, you know, I was moved, listen to people share their reason why and talk about, you know, why they're doing ACN and having an opportunity to recognize new regional coordinators. Congratulations to you guys. You know, just an inspiration. After all these years, it never gets old to watch people fight for their dreams. You know what I mean? To watch people do the extra work, go the extra mile, do what other people are unwilling to go do. And it just it is a real joy and honor for me to be a part of this. And I also want to acknowledge your leadership. You know, I grew up with Jeff in this business. I watched him come in. I followed up with Jeff Street for over 5 years. And I want you to think about that for 1 second. Some of you haven't been in ACN for 5 months. Some of you haven't even been here for 5 weeks. But understand that the greatest rep that ever came into my team was a gentleman I had to follow up with for 5 years. And so understand a delay is not a denial. You know, some of those people that you're talking to today are going to become some of your greatest reps long term. You're just not prepared for when they come in. And I am grateful that Jeff said no when I first approached him. You know, now obviously it's a little easier for me to say that now in hindsight. Isn't it funny when we look back on things, they work exactly the way they're supposed to? How many of us would agree? If you look back on your life and all the things that you had to go through to get to where you are, you know, you never expected maybe it to be the way it was, but it is the way it is now. But the point that I'm making is the same thing with Jeff. I just wasn't ready for a great leader like him to come in. And you know what? He would have probably quit because I probably wouldn't have known what to do and maybe gave him some bad advice, or heck, he probably would have listened to my bad, you know, ideas. And, you know, it took me a long time to have success in ACN. And, you know, a long time in our business is 5 years. So understand, my father worked 33 years for corporate America and wasn't successful, meaning didn't retire financially free. And he gave that 33 years. So when I look at ACN, I look at it as not just, you know, where you are today. Don't worry about that part. It's where you're going. And when Jeff came in, you know, he did more in 90 days than I did in a whole year. And he just came to the table ready to earn and ready to work and was completely coachable. And, you know, and now today with his partner, Melissa, the both of them together make an amazing partnership. 2 incredible leaders that will go on to become one of the biggest names in the entire direct sales industry. I know that to be a fact. And the fact that you guys are with them just means that they're plowing the way for you, that you can just fall in behind them and create your own success and eventually have your own leadership just like they do here today. You know, tonight we've got multiple leaderships. We have another leadership happening outside of this one here. This means that your team has so many great leaders that they have to step away in order for them to produce even more leaders. You know, Lauren did a great job, you know, kicking off the call today and, you know, just helping everybody understand, you know, how important recognition is and what to say when you know, get called up. You know, you're a part of the team now. You're a leader. Now, can we agree leaders are looked at differently than everybody else? So now there's an expectation. There's a really a calling, if you will, when we say, hey, look, we need you to say something. We know that you're prepared. You know, Lauren did a great job, and Lauren came to ACN already a veteran in this industry at a young age. You know, and to see what she's been able to do in a short time, 900 customers in less than 6 months in the opportunity, speaks volumes about her leadership. And then again, if you look at Joe and Shanna and what these guys have done in this industry, you know, we've got layers and layers and layers of amazing leaders in this industry. They're all coming together, not out of chance. Like nobody's just stumbling into ACN right now. It's literally all of us coming together simultaneously with the same vision, the same mission, you know, the same level of desire. And I see Paul Mercier that, you know, I've known for many years, and to see him, you know, in this business and having success at the level that he is. You know, I was in his breakout room. I was very fortunate. I was in the mercenary room. I said, oh my, this is incredible, man. I just love that, you know, camaraderie that they're creating. And I know that's happening as it was with Ken and Susie Potter, regional vice presidents, that have went out and done amazing in our business. Week after week, we were doing Friday night leadership and Saturday training, and they live in California. And I don't care if you live 15 miles away from the training or 25 miles away from the training, it's the same 2 hours. It's like the same 2 hours to get to the training and the same 2 hours to get home to go do it all again the following day. So when you think about support, how many of us agree you got a lot of it here tonight? And that's a big battle in what we do. There's people that are literally falling out of ACN right now because they don't have support, that they don't have somebody to call, that they don't have somebody to look at and say, I see what they're doing, I'm just going to do what they're doing, because they don't even have an example. And how many of us would agree that, that the fact that you already have these examples around you, and I could go on, I mean, there's more people than what I mentioned, but the reason I'm mentioning these certain people is just example after example after example of people out there building their own business in ACN. And they're doing it with passion, and they're doing it with purpose, and they're doing it with a vision for their family. And when I came into this, over 22 years ago, look, I didn't expect to be where I am here today. Like, my vision wasn't that big when I started. I just wanted to get out of financial trouble. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that. Sometimes when your back's against the wall, you sort of purge out all the unimportant things in life. And again, when you look back on things, it looks a lot different than when you're going through them. If you're in that situation, sometimes you got to remove the distractions. You got to get all those unimportant things out of your life. I can't tell you the last time that I watched a television show. Like, I don't even know what's on TV. I've missed all these series that everybody else talked about over the last 20 years because that wasn't relevant in my life. I was laser focused on getting myself out of a negative situation. And, I'm sure just like some of you on here today, I had parents that are struggling. I had family members that are struggling. And I knew that this opportunity could allow us to have financial relief. So a couple of things that we did. Number one, we became completely sold out to coming to these trainings. Like, there wasn't any question. Just like I don't question, I brush my teeth every day. I go to training every Friday. Like, that's it. If you know me, it doesn't matter. Every Friday. Why? And this is why. Because I have to learn how to make new commitments every day. I have to learn how to make new commitments every day. This isn't a one and done thing. Growth just doesn't one and done. This is a daily growth that we all have to go through. And how many of us agree it's easy to be committed with you're with a group of people? I was talking to Lauren earlier. There's a handful of us here in Dallas that Tuesday through Friday at 6:15 we're at the gym. Now, I have about as much desire to go to the gym at 6:15 in the morning than any other human being. But because there's 5 or 6 other people, how many of us agree it's 6:15? There's no snooze, there's no tomorrow. And look, I'm rich. Like, I don't have to get up ever. I could sleep 24 hours a day if I wanted to. So it's not about, that I have to, it's the commitment. Does that make sense? It's the making the commitment to other people. And when you make commitments to other people, how many of us agree it rises the level of your commitment? That's why I love when some of you publicly were like, put me down on Wednesday for a Zoom, or Paul Mercier, like, hey, I'm going to do another Zoom. That's a public announcement. That is his peers on every side of him watching him and say, okay, great. You know what? Let's go out and recruit some people. And look, I look at offering ACN as a blessing. Like, I don't look at this as like, hey, you know what I mean? I'm bothering somebody or wonder what they're going to say or wonder. Look, I understand that there are a lot of broken people in this country. There are a lot of people that just need to be in this environment. Money is a secondary. That's a secondary, right? You give money to bad people, money does bad things, right? Can we agree? The primary purpose of this is for them to get right. And once you get right, then we can start scaling, then we can start building. And ACN gives us an environment to start getting right. I didn't read personal development before ACN. I didn't listen to audios about personal development before ACN. I wasn't saved before ACN. I didn't even find Christianity until ACN. I mean, look at all these boxes I'm checking right now. Oh, and by the way, I made tens of millions of dollars. But that's all secondary. Does that make sense? Because if I would have made that before I had all those other things, I would have been just like every other lottery winner. The curse of the lottery, yes or no, the money was a curse. It was the worst thing that ever happened to them, right? Meet somebody that inherited money. How many of you agree that the cheapest person you ever met, right? Because they meet somebody that's self-made, they're the most generous human being you've ever met. Why? Because they can go make more. Henry Ford said, if you take my money, I'll make it again tomorrow. Why? Because I know how to do it. So when I talk about going out and recruiting, number one, I think all of you have to have a goal. Because if you don't have a goal, you have nothing to shoot for. And it's been statistically proven, time and time again, write down what you want. There's power in writing it down. It becomes a law, no different than if you're speeding down the road and there's a big truck in front of the 55-mile-an-hour sign and you're going 70 mile an hour and you get pulled over and you say, well, I didn't see the sign. Can we agree the police officer's what? It's written down. Like, it doesn't matter if you can see it. It is a law. A law is written down. And so you've got to write down what you want. Now, if you're a CQ on here today, your first goal, in my opinion, is to focus on 24 personal recruits. 24 personal recruits. Number one, it's measurable. How many of us agree? It's a measurable goal, right? You can go as fast or as slow as you want to get to 24 personal recruits. Now, here's what we found in 24 personal recruits. You become a regional director. And I look at regional director like I would look at becoming a doctor. How many of us agree if we wanted to become a medical doctor, we're going to spend 4 years in undergraduate, 4 years in medical school, 2 years in residency, and it's going to take about 10 years of our life and probably about $600,000 or $700,000. And I'm probably saying it's probably more, but I'm just guessing it's probably that much money. So you're going to give up 10 years of your life. You're going to pay $600,000 or $700,000 to learn the skill set to become a medical doctor. Then you get the right to go out and start making money. Yes or no? Now, how many of us would agree? None of us would have a problem with that. None of us would be in year 3 saying, when am I going to be a doctor? Nobody would go home to their family and say, I spent over 2 years in medical school and I'm still not a doctor. See, they already accepted you're going to have to spend 10 years and $500,000 to get to that level. So so when I look at regional director, I look at it as that's when you have the skill set. That's when you've been through the necessary things that we have to experience on the way to success. Are you going to experience disappointment? Well, that comes down to the way you look at it. I either am learning, right, or earning. What's learning? Mess that up. That's a learning experience. I don't look at anything negative. I look at it as learning and earning. I'm either earning where things are working the way they're supposed to, or I'm learning where all of a sudden I figure out at that point, man, you know what? I need to be a little more coachable, or, hey, let me listen to the way the leaders are telling me to do something. And I start doing it accordingly. So 24 personal recruits. Now, look, you can do it at whatever speed you want to do it. This is your business. And you're going to find some people are going to go faster than others because some people have different goals and different situations in life. Run your own race. That's the other thing you want to remember. Run your own race. Does that make sense? Don't beat yourself up if you're not further ahead than the next guy, or, hey, it took me a long time to hit positions. So, just remember, this is about running your own race. Lauren came in with industry experience. Joe and Shayna came in with industry experience. So, it's unfair to say, hey, they did it faster. Well, yes, because they had already paid a price somewhere else. Does that make sense? So just remember, you got to run your own race. Now, the second thing is, what's going to make you go out and talk to people and invite them onto a Zoom and go back and reinvigorate some relationships of people you have and create some new relationships of people is going to be your reason why. That's going to be something that you got to be very clear with. And, it took me time to really refine why I'm doing what we're doing here today. Money, that's a tool. It's what are you going to do with the tool? Does that make sense? Like, okay, we're going to make money. Now, what is the purpose of the money? Right. Now, that's where the clarity needs to come in. You've got to be clear on why you're doing this business. Because if you're not clear on why you're doing this business, you can get easily distracted with life. A lot of low value things will come your way. Does that make sense? How many of you ever had a day off where you said, I'm going to do nothing today? Has anyone ever, you looked at your calendar, you said, today's my day off, I'm going to do nothing today. Now, the day that you said, I'm going to do nothing today, is the day that your friend's tire blows, your mom's, right, washing machine breaks, right? The kids get sick at school, right? How many of you agree things start to come into your day if you do not have your day already planned? If your high value things are not planned, low value things get in the way, right? If your mom calls and said the washer broke and you're on your way to do a meeting, how many of us agree that's someone else's problem? Right? Like, listen, we can fix the washer later. I'm on my way to do something, right? That's my high value stuff. That's the stuff that I'm looking to go do. Now, I share that with you because you're going to become crystal clear on why you're doing this business, because that's what's going to make you create the habit of success, because success is a habit and so is failure. Habits are created daily. It's daily disciplines. It's things that you do every single day. Now, here's my experience is that habits will define and determine the level of your income. Your habits will determine your income. So you've got to create some great habits. Now, me personally, couple things that I do. Number one, fortune in the follow-up. Fortune in the follow-up. You've got to see ACN 3 times before you tell me a solid no. Does that what you said when they go, hey, it isn't for me? I said, I understand that, but I'd like for you to come listen to Jeff because he has a different perspective on what you're seeing tonight. So before you completely roll this out, can you come back on Wednesday and evaluate it again? Did everybody understand what I said? Like, I don't let people get away with the, hey, it's not for me. You didn't learn enough about it to make that decision. Does that make sense? On Zoom especially, I believe on Zoom, it takes people multiple times to see this for them to make a business decision, yes or no. How many of us would agree? They're distracted, right? A lot of times you're in a car, right? A lot of times they're, at home, I got kids, I know what's going on. There's always something happening. So they're missing information. So I truly believe somebody has to see this presentation multiple times. Now, I understand that if somebody signs up immediately, the only reason they're signing up immediately is they trust the person that invited them. That's it. It's not because they understood 4% after 4% and CQ and ETL and RC. They didn't understand any of that. They just trusted the person that they're signing up with. How many of us would agree with that? And that's going to be 10% of the time. So 10%. So if I have 10 people on a Zoom, that's going to be one person somewhere on that Zoom that's going to say, okay, I'm ready to go. And they're not ready to go because they understand it. They're ready to go because they know that their friend's doing it and Matt's doing it. I'm doing it. Does that make sense? If Glenn's doing it, I'm doing it, right? Because I know Glenn and Glenn's a winner and he's always winning and I'm going to be there with Glenn. So even for that situation to happen, the person that's having the meeting or inviting the meeting has to be sold out themselves. Does that make sense? Meaning you can't be shy and new and then invite people on and be like, okay, well, who's going to do it? Probably no one. Why? Because they're going off of the host. Can we agree with that? They're looking at the posture of the person that put the meeting on. If the person that put the meeting on, like, Glenn, I want to do this with you. Let's do this together. Can we agree Glenn's more open to doing it because the person that invited them is sold out to what they're doing, or, hey, let's go do it together. The other 30% that'll say yes to ACN, it's follow-up, it's follow-up, it's follow-up. Now, here's my experience with follow-up. I like them to come back to see another presentation. Why? Because just them hanging out with you would make them want to do it. Does that make sense? Like if I just hung out with you guys and I met Janelle and I got a chance to spend time with him and Joe and Jose and some of the other leaders, I would do it just to hang out with you guys. Why? Because this isn't normal. Right? Can we agree with that? Debbie, this isn't normal. You've been in the real estate world. This isn't normal. People coming together, clapping for people, encouraging people, loving on people. Like $2.99. I need some of this in my life. I don't even know what this is, but I need some of this in my life. Yes or no? So just remember that follow-up in that bringing them back in front of it again allows for them to see something a little different than maybe the first time they've seen it. Right. And again, this is something that you're going to find in this business, that some of my greatest relationships were people that had to come back and see it a second time. Right. It's just the way things are, and be okay with that. A no is not a no forever. But you also got to remember energy is what creates excitement. What do I mean by energy? Is that you have abundance. What is abundance? There's never going to run out of people. You're never going to run out of people. Look, and you guys have an endless warm market of people. Like, you have endless people in your phone. You're never going to have to talk to strangers. If you go, hey, I got to talk to strangers, it's because you don't want to face the people in your phone. Does that make sense? When people go, well, how do I talk to strangers? I don't know. Like, hi, how are you? I don't know you. It's $2.99. Let's go do business together. Call your friends and tell them you met this guy in a parking lot and he took $2.99 from you and he wants to meet you now. Now, could you imagine your friend calling you up was like, I met this guy named Patrick in a parking lot. Cool guy, just chill, down to earth. He took $299. No matter of fact, he took $324 from me. And he wants to meet you. Now, what would you tell your best friend? Like, dude, I don't want to meet that guy, right? Because I don't want to give him 324 either. So remember, when people ask me questions like, how do I go talk to strangers? I'm always like, look, I'm not a checker player, I'm a chess player. And what does that mean? I'm thinking of the next move. And let me tell you what the next move is. They got to tell someone they know how they met you. Now, how many of us agree? Yes, I've sponsored people I didn't know. Yes, I spoke to people I didn't know, but I'm at a different level. Does that make sense? Like, I am at a level that it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm just sorting people and I'm sorting within 10 minutes of talking to them. So the point that I'm making is all of the success that you need to have is in your phone. It's in your phone. And you got to remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's the difference. The difference is it's not about the opportunity. It's about them being invited into a community. And that's a different way of looking at things. This isn't about getting in. It's about joining. It's about being a part of. Now, I know personally that, I joined a fraternity when I was in college, and there was no academic reason for doing that. Does that make sense? There wasn't a financial reason, I can tell you that much. It was like, join a frat and buy a friend. Like, they were like, hey, welcome to the fraternity, $800. Like, $800? I just met you guys, right? Yeah, and hey, go out and get some other friends, and they're going to take $800 from them too, and together we're going to drink on your money. So the reason why I joined a fraternity wasn't academic reasons. It wasn't the fact that, I wanted to give a bunch of people money. It was because they had their own little community. Does that make sense? And because they had their little community, I wanted to be a part of that community. And so I joined the community. So when you look at ACN, understand we're offering things that are a lot different than just the money. The money's here, and the money is here for any of you that want the money, but you got to remember, it's the money goes to its rightful owner, meaning the more you become, the more money you get. The bigger you become, the more money's attract you, like a magnet, right? You're going to magnetize them and it's going to come to you. Second thing is you got to remember timing in an industry. I was here in 2009. Let me tell you 2009. I can remember I was just doing meetings. Right? I didn't have any money in the stock market. Stock market dropped. Who cares? I don't got any money in it. I remember people like, oh my God, the stock market's down. You got any money in it? Why do you care? Oh, housing prices down. You're a renter. Why do you care? Right? People are like, oh my God, the sky's falling, right? It's like, dude, this has nothing to do with you. But the point that I'm making is I went from doing meeting after meeting after meeting and having a handful of people to sign in to putting in over 1,000 people a month. Mike and I went from a couple hundred people signing in to over 1,000 people every 30 days signing in. 1,000 people. And 1,000 people every 30 days were coming in. I'd wake up, my report would just show more people coming in, more customers coming in, more people coming in. And it had nothing to do with us and everything to do with timing. See, you don't have to be a super salesperson to sell umbrellas in a rainstorm. You don't have to be, extremely gifted to talk about saving money and making money in a bad economy. Right? You don't have to have special talents when it says, hey, I don't know if you'd be open or interested in a secondary form of income. If you'd like to meet some people that are real successful, I'd love for you to come meet them. I think they're onto something big. I'm looking at it myself. Why don't you come take a look? I'd love to see it. It's on Zoom. Have you used Zoom? Great. I'll put you down for coming. And what I'm sharing with you is a skill set that you develop over doing it over and over again. What do they say? 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours of doing something makes you very good at what you choose to do. The problem is most people get very good at things that never pay them big money. Right? We all have a friend that can quote every statistic of every sports player, right? We all have a friend that can sing the latest song word for word, right or wrong, right? We all have a friend, right, that can tell you all kinds of Jeopardy information that's never going to set their family financially free. All I understood is that if I got really good at this, that everything else in my life could be taken care of. If I got really good at this. If I got really good at this, I never have to clean my house again because I got really good at this. If I got really good at this, I never have to cook food again because I got really good at this. I never have to cut my grass again. I never have to repair anything. I don't have to fix anything. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do if I got really good at this. And because I got really good at this, I don't do anything that I do not want to do except this. I would rather sit home and meditate on ACN than have to do anything else that I don't want to go do. Hey, there's leaves in the pool. That's someone else's job. Hey, there's leaves in the gutter. Good, that's someone else's job. I'm going to bless somebody by giving them my money and let them go do what they want to go do while I sit at home and do nothing but meditate on my business. And you know what I do in my business? What I meditate on? Here's what I meditate on. Look, I'll show it to you. It's probably already up. Yeah, right here. Here's what I meditate on. You know what this is? This is MediShare. And you know what MediShare has? 400,000 people. Now, if we put 400,000 people on Impact Health, your kids' will be talking about you. The family truckster will be a Ferrari. Your children will be like, all I know is Ferrari. I don't really know anything else, right? That's what I look at. Why? Because that case study's already done. We're not Uber here, we're Lyft. We're not McDonald's, we're Burger King. This is already done. This is already done. So there's no question, can we put 400,000 members on? I know it without a shadow of a doubt. My question is, how much of that are you going to get? Right? How much of that are you going to get? And now, if you do the numbers behind that, it'll keep you up at night. When you start putting the numbers together, 98% retention rate. You know why it's a 98% retention rate? Because nobody's going to leave once they get in. Because they got re-educated. Yes or no? And once you get re-educated, you can't go back to paying $2,700 a month with Blue Cross after I experienced Impact, after I know the way Impact operates and the philosophy of Impact and member-centric and pay the bill and do the things that all of us need done in those negative situations of healthcare. This is called blue water. This is what everybody dreams about. Everybody dreams about blue water. What's blue water? Save you 50% on something that you have to get. That's called blue water. Hey, what's the downside? It's too cheap. Right, great. You know what I mean? That's the blue water that we're in. And if you think about, where we're sitting at as far as timing goes, this is the premier time. Now, normally I'd be talking about energy. I know we had the young lady that 20 customers in Ohio. Look, I have a guy that works at a car dealership that signed up 11 electric customers today. Made over $400 today with 11 electric bills. He literally took the articles in Ohio and went to the mechanics and said, hey, your bill's going to double, and went to the receptionist, your bill's going to double, and went to the other administrators, and he got 11 electric bills today at work. Now, normally I'd be talking about that. Like, look, you can go out and make a lot of money just signing up customers, and that opportunity is always going to be here. But when you look at what we're going to do in healthcare, I'm telling you, it's the biggest disruptor that any of us have been a part of. So that's why I look at MediShare. Why? Because they have 400,000 people. That means if we get 100,000 between all 74 of us here today, you're talking about literally tens of millions of dollars flowing through our bank accounts. Now, some of you aren't prepared for that, right? Some of you are not prepared for that kind of money. Now, some of you think you're prepared for that kind of money, but some of you are really not prepared. So understand that this is the preparation part. Right? This is the part where we've got to be prepared. And how do we be prepared? Number one, we've got to have belief. Mike and I, when Impact came out, Mike flew down to Florida and spent multiple days with Phil Chrysler at the headquarters of Impact, asking 1,010,000 questions. Because what? We needed to learn everything there is to learn. We needed to know the good. We need to learn the bad. We need to learn what's good, what's the perfect customer, when to say this, when to say that. And then what? Jeff and Melissa fell right in behind us. Then all of a sudden they started doing the same thing. And now Jeff's leading a call every Tuesday to educate your team about this product. So again, you got to have that belief. You got to have that, that education about what you're going to make a lot of money in. I mean, could you imagine meeting somebody who made tens of millions of dollars in something? You're like, well, tell me a little more about the product. Well, I just send in a bunch of people and they can talk to somebody and I made tens of millions. How many of us would be like, that just doesn't sound right, right? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Every person that's ever obsessed about something and went on to become extremely successful because they are obsessed about it, straight obsessed about it. Now, again, why am I telling you this? Because if we would started with Zoom technology, number one, if we could have started with Zoom technology, I would have recruited single moms. I would have recruited people that said, hey, look, you know what? I have a car problem. Don't need a car here. Matter of fact, sell your car, right? Don't need any of that stuff. We can sit in front of computer screens and get to know people and let them know we got something special and want to do something with them. And it didn't matter where they lived, whether they lived in Maine or they lived in Miami, it did not matter anymore. Number two, that I had access to people like we're doing tonight. You know how we learned this business? It was called, and I know some of you probably don't even know this existed at one time. They were called cassette tapes. Yeah, we used to listen to cassette tapes. And I would push play and rewind and play and rewind on cassette tapes. And I would take a cassette tape recorder, right? Like little black thing came up, right? Walk in and I would push play. When anybody would speak that had that was an RVP, I would push record and I would listen to what they said. Now, I wasn't a good student in school, so I had to listen to things over and over and over again just because that's how I had to learn, right? You know what I mean? I was a lazy learner. And so because I was a lazy learner, it caught up to me in my older years. I'm like, dude, you got to actually do it a little more because you were lazy growing up learning. And the point that I'm making is that's how we had to get access to people. So if somebody was speaking that was a big name in ACN, I would drive 150 miles one way to hear him speak. Like literally, they'd be like, oh, he's speaking in New York City. Good, that's 150 miles away. I'm going right now. I'm going right now. And people used to say, oh, you're going to another training. Oh, you're going to listen to another speaker. Oh, they're taking your money. Can't you see they're taking your money? That's what everybody would say to me. Oh, another training. You're crazy. What are you doing? What they didn't understand is once I knew what they knew, I became them. But it's access to people. That's the hardest thing to get. It was access. Does that make sense? It was like hard to get. Now the access is for everybody. Come on a Friday night, have your camera on, have your notebook out, start taking some notes, be intentional with your learning. Why? Because this is how you're going to be able to go out and do great things. Number two, imagine you brought somebody into this that said, I need this to work and I need you to do the presentation. And I need you to explain this to people that I know. And imagine if everybody above you said, look, I made enough money and I'm done. Don't call me. I'm all set. Best of luck to you. I got mine. You need to go get yours. Are you prepared for that? Do you know how to present? Do you know how to share a screen? Do you have a Zoom account? And if you said no to any of those things, you're not prepared. God will not give you what you cannot handle. Does that make sense, right? Everybody, I want to be this. Great. Leadership means more problems. What's your problem? Do you present? Do you share screens? Do you know how to close? Do you know how to sign people up? Do you know how to put customers in? Do you know how to figure out problems? No. Okay, well, you're not prepared because can we agree? What does leadership mean? It means you get the joy of solving more problems. You're inviting more problems into your life. I want to be an RVP. That just means more people on your team, more personalities, right? More situations, right? How many of you agree that these are all the things that are going to come along with it? So the reason I'm sharing this with you is you have the ability to plug right in and win. And I know Jeff and Melissa and others do calls on a daily basis. If I could sat at the feet of Jeff as an RVP and took notes, I could have got where I got to 10 times faster. Why? Because he would have coached me. He would have said, turn left, Patrick. Melissa would have said, turn left, turn right, Patrick. Do this, say that, do this next time, do that next time. Why didn't you do this? right? How many of us would rather have the coach in our ear telling us what to do for the next play instead of out there on our own trying to figure it out? So they're looking to take personal attention to people. And look, you got a window of opportunity to take advantage of their time, because as their team gets bigger, as more leaders come in, as they become bigger, their time becomes less available, yes or no? And they become selective. Hey, I can't help anybody, only a few. So the benefit you have now today is you have access, and access is a big deal in what we do. Third thing is going to a big event. Look, if I can give you any advice, and why does Melissa have a chart of names of people? Why is Joe and Shayna #1 for pre-registration for the convention? Why at 6:15 this morning, when I'm on my way to the gym, do I get a text from Joe saying I have 2 more people made a commitment to go to the national convention? Because they understand the only way for big things to happen is at a big event. Right? You've got to get people to the event. If they don't go to the event, there's not going to be any radical change in their life unless they go to an event, because everybody is a doubter. Everybody has self-doubt, not me, not my situation, not this, not that. I got kids, I'm single, I'm married, I live here, I work 2 jobs. Everybody has those voices in their head, yes or no? You know what I mean? It's the old, I thought I had a bad life till I met someone with no legs and no arms. Right? And all of a sudden saw that guy winning. How's that guy winning? What's your excuse? Right? How many of us would agree? Like, you got to be at the event. Now, look, I can't ask anyone to do what I personally am not doing. Does that make sense? Because that becomes hypocritical. That's the old lead from behind, right? That's the old, you go, not me. Now, whether you're doing this spare time or you're doing this part-time, it doesn't matter. The only non-negotiable in this business is the convention. Because you need it. I need it. Does that make sense? Like, who's pouring into you? Who's taking you away and letting you get filled up so you can go fight the good fight? So you're inspired even more. So your energy is even higher. Now, if I was starting all over again, what I would do, I would literally call everybody that I had on my team and anybody from today moving to the 23rd of June, and I would just talk about Baltimore. Hey, look, I don't have 10 years of my life to play with. How about you? Like, I don't have 5 years to fool around with. I can't wake up 10 years from now and this just be one of those things I tried and didn't have a lot of success. How many of us can relate to that conversation? And in order for me to make a decision, I got to go get all the facts, right? Because belief comes from facts. That's where belief, I'm talking real, true belief. That's the old, I know that I know, right? That comes from the facts. And the only place somebody can go and get the facts is the national convention. Why? Because they submerge you in it for 2 days. Look, we have so many distractions in our life already. It's hard for you to be able to take time to submerge in information and come out renewed and ready and excited and have the vision and have the passion and have all the necessary qualities to make this business work at a high level. So that's the convention. Now, here's been my experience. One, I always have an extra room. Why? Because for me, $300, whether I was an ETL or a senior vice president, this is an investment in my business. That's what this is. No different if I had an apartment building and they told me, Patrick, you got to put new windows in the apartment building and it's going to cost $20,000. Guess what? That's called an investment. Right or wrong. That's not throwing money away. I'm investing money. And the reason why I say that is because if I take people and I overcome their problems, what's going to be problems? Well, I don't know about this. Don't worry, I got a place for you to stay. Hey, I don't know about this. I have a guy driving 13 hours to bring people, so they didn't have that excuse. Jose Ramos drove from Florida to Dallas, Texas as a regional director and took people there. Why? Because he didn't want their excuse of why they couldn't go. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because the June event on the 23rd and the 24th is going to be the event that's going to give the belief to you and the people that you bring. Now, look, you only need 1 or 2 other people with you. Does that make sense? One's crazy, 2 is a religion. Can we agree with that, right? You bring another person with you, it's like, oh, no, me and Bob are going to go crazy in this thing. Oh, really? You got Bob doing? Bob's crazy. I mean, we're both going to go together. How many of us agree? It's the second person, right? That's where multiplication happens. It happens through the second person, right? How many of you ever heard, I've got your back? Where did that come from? Well, back in the day, back in medieval days, when you sat back to back, you would have what, a 360-degree view. Nobody could sneak up on you. You had a 360. You just needed that second person. So that second person is what makes this business grow. Now, here's what I'll share with you. It's easy to get customers, but it's easy not to. It's easy to go to a Friday night training, but it's easier not to, right? It's easy to sit in front of the computer, take notes. It's easier to turn on the television, right? These were all designed to get people distracted from what the main things are in life. And until you hang out with high performers, you can't become a high performer. The person you see today wasn't the person I was 21 years ago. I wish it was the person look, if I saw my old me, I would literally want to punch myself. The person that I was compared to the person that I'm becoming. And I share that with you because somebody loved me enough to make me go to the convention. And I'll be genuine with you. I went to the convention because they kept talking about it. Like literally, like, would you quit talking about it if I go? Like, it was almost annoying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do I need to learn? Get customers and get reps. Like, right? I can figure that out. Like, what do we do here? We get customers and we get other people to get customers. Why do I need a 2-day convention to talk about getting customers and getting other people to get customers? Why? Because I was average thinker, right? And because of it, I was an average thinker. I was looking at everything like an average person would look at it, right? Because what? Vegas would have been a better presentation for me than going to a national convention. We say, hey, we're going to go to Vegas. Sounds great. Makes sense. We all should be in Vegas. Let's go have a blast, right? Because what? I was an average thinker, right? Vegas was made on what? A bunch of losers. Yes or no? And guess what I was back then? A loser. And guess where losers go? Where all losers go, right? To Vegas. And there I was. Hey, that's a better option than going to a national convention. Now, talk to millionaires. Hey, they're doing a workshop on how to make more money. That's where millionaires go. Hey, they're having a fraternity get together in Vegas. That's where average people go. So decisions are made based on choices that all of us make. Where you end up is based on the choices that you make. And I'm sharing this with you because you got to go to get other people to go. Does this help everybody tonight? Because if you go, look, imagine this. Imagine if you got Jeff Street to go with you. And imagine where you'd be today if he was on your team. Imagine if you got me to go. Imagine where you would be today if I was on your team. And I shared that with you because we were all IBOs getting started that somebody influenced us to go. They influenced us to go. And you know how they influenced us to go? They talked about it. They put us on the phone with other people to talk about it. They worked out problems. Hey, can you get your mom to watch the kids? Do you think you could get a friend to help out? If we drive together, if you can stay in a room, right? If you just work out their situations, they're going to go. So I hope this helps you tonight. You know, I really was excited about being a part of this call. I believe that you guys specifically here will go on to become some of the biggest people in this company, not just in this company. We're going to go and change the healthcare industry. We're going to help a lot of people. Like, this cannot be contained. This is a grass fire. You're not going to get in front of a grass fire. I have people that sell health insurance that are like, you know what? Shares are here to stay. Like, shares are coming. The conversation's out there. People are knowing about them. MediShare spends $17 million a year on just Google ads. $17 million. Do you know how thankful I am that MediShare spends $17 million a year to help educate my future customers? Do you know how thankful I am that they're not asking me to spend $17 million a year on Google ads, that somebody else is doing that for me, right? How many of you like that? When people go, hey, I think I heard something like that on the radio. Good, good, good. Their $17 million a year is helping us make $17 million a year. Does that make sense? They're putting their money in so you can take it out on your side over here. So when you think about just the timing that we're in, but it also comes down to the most important part is your reason why. Because if I didn't go to the national convention, if somebody didn't go to the national convention, my parents would have struggled to the end. They would have struggled to the end, right? There wouldn't have been any special vacations. There wouldn't have been any, hey, you don't have to worry about working anymore because I have enough residual income to take care of you and me and everybody included, right? That would have never happened. That would have none of that would have ever happened, you know, but because somebody got me to go. And I'm sharing that with you because it's a tool. It's a tool. When you walk out of that event, number one, you'll recruit more people the next 30 days than you had in the last 30 days. Why? Because you're just going to vibrate on a different level. You're going to have a different level of belief. You're going to have a different level of commitment. You're having a different posture in your conversation. You're going to be able to bring people into this business that today you're not able to bring because you're not the person you need to be to get their attention. And you'll get their attention. And it's not success that gets people's attention, it's posture. You know, Mahatma Gandhi changed the face of a country based on his posture, on what he said. He didn't have a military. He didn't have political pull. He wasn't a billionaire. How did a man in a sheet change the face of a country? Because of what he said, right? Because of his posture, because of his belief system and what he was saying. And he was able to inspire millions and millions of people on his words. So how many of us agree there's power in what we're talking about tonight? But where do you get those words from? Where do you get that belief from? Where do you get that vision from? You got to spend 2 days to learn how to do it. So look, I'm proud of you guys for booking Zoom meetings here tonight. I'm proud of you guys stepping outside your comfort zone. It's going to be scary outside your comfort zone. You're going to be, you know, it's always nervous picking up the phone and what are they going to say? And what about everything you're experiencing? Every single one of us experience. And here's what I'll tell you is when you're at whatever position you get at and you're on that stage and you're being recognized for regional director, or you're being recognized for regional coordinator, you're being recognized for regional vice president or above, you're not going to remember anything anyone said negatively. You're not going to remember. You know what you're going to remember? How you feel and the person that you became. Because you overcame the challenges, the doubt, the worry, the insecurity, that every single thing that every person possesses on the way. And they do it anyway. So as you can tell, I'm passionate about the event. Jeff, I know you said that we're going to do a raffle. If we can get some people that'll make that commitment that maybe haven't signed up yet, or you're here tonight, you're just a new CQ. You know, I hope I didn't, blow you out first night on the job of leadership, but you showed up and you know what I mean? You came, it's like, all right, I'm here to learn. Great, we're going to stretch you. But, here's our commitment. Jeff, if we get 10 people?
We had actually said 7. So we have a lot of people on this call already registered. Raise your hand if you're already coming to Baltimore. With us, we have a lot of them that are already made the commitment. Wow. This team is 1,000% focused on running for their dreams, Patrick.
So the 4 of you that didn't raise your hand, if you sign up tonight, what we'll do is we'll do a raffle. If we call your name, we'll buy 1 ticket for anybody you bring in your team. Does that make sense? That means if you're bringing somebody in your team and you go, hey, I got Mary to come on June 18th. Mary made the decision. Great. You got 1 extra ticket. We'll have that ticket for you at the convention. We'll make sure that Mary gets in and she's going to get in for free because we're going to reach into our pocket and pay for her ticket. Is that okay? Like, that's how bad we believe in this, and the reason that we're telling you this is because we know what it can do for everybody on here.